You hear a tiny scratching sound behind the kitchen wall. For a few seconds, your body wants to do the old thing. Chase it, catch it, prove that you are faster than whatever made that sound. But you do not sprint around the room on all fours. You do not wait all night with your hand raised. You set a trap. A small object stays awake while you sleep. It turns patience into a weapon. It lets you act in a place where your body is not standing. Now take away the metal spring, the plastic box, the supermarket, the farm, the freezer, the pet food aisle, and every system that makes animals feel distant from your life. You are standing on open ground thousands of years ago. The air is dry, your feet are dusty. Somewhere ahead, an animal has already seen you. It is faster than you. It hears better than you. It can smell danger before your group has even moved. So why did animals ever lose? The obvious answer is that ancient humans threw spears, ran long distances, or attacked in groups, and sometimes they did. Wooden weapons from Schöningen in Germany show that humans or close human relatives were making sophisticated hunting weapons hundreds of thousands of years ago. Endurance hunting has also been discussed by researchers like Dennis Bramble, Daniel Lieberman, and Louis Liebenberg as one possible part of the human hunting story. But the most important shift may have been quieter. At some point, humans stopped trying to be the fastest animal in the chase. They began building a situation where the animal's own escape became part of the capture. That is the strange genius of a trap. A trap does not need to run. It does not get tired. It does not blink at the wrong moment. It waits. And for an animal whose survival depends on choosing the right path in one instant, a waiting human idea can be more dangerous than a running human body. But this creates a deeper question. How do you trap an animal that has spent its whole life escaping death? You cannot simply dig a cartoon hole in the ground and hope a deer falls politely into it. A real animal notices broken branches. It avoids fresh human scent. It follows familiar paths. It panics when the herd panics. It tests gaps. It hears loose stones. It learns where the landscape feels wrong. So an ancient trap was not just a device. It was a prediction. First, you had to know where the animal wanted to go before the animal arrived. That sounds simple until you try to do it without a map, without a trail camera, without written notes, and without a second chance if the herd turns away. The ground becomes your page. A hoofprint is not just a mark. It is a sentence about direction, speed, body weight, moisture, and time. A bent reed is a clue. Droppings tell you what passed through and when. A narrow gap between rocks tells you where fear will probably flow. And the strange part is that the trap works best when it agrees with the animal. If the animal already wants to pass through a neck of land, a river edge, a valley mouth, or a brush tunnel, the human does not need to overpower it. The human only needs to make the expected path slightly more final. This is where the ancient world starts to look less like a battlefield and more like a chessboard. One method is direct pursuit. You see the animal. You move. It moves. Everyone pays immediately. Another method is ambush. You hide near a place the animal may pass. If your prediction is right, the hunt lasts a moment. If it is wrong, you sit with hunger and insects. But a trap changes the time scale. You do hard thinking before the animal appears. You build when the animal is absent. You place a decision inside the landscape. Then you leave the landscape to do part of the work. That is why traps are so hard to see in archaeology. A spear point can survive. A stone blade can survive. A butchered bone can carry a cut mark for tens of thousands of years. But a snare made from plant fiber, sinew, hair, or wood usually rots. A brush fence collapses. A bait stick disappears. The most intelligent part of the system may leave almost no trace. This is why archaeologist Lynn Wadley's work on Sibida Cave in South Africa matters. She asked whether snares and traps could have been used in the Middle Stone Age, even though the traps themselves were unlikely to survive. At Sibida, the animal remains from certain levels included patterns that raised the possibility of non-selective capture. Many small mammals, high taxonomic diversity, small carnivores, and animals such as tiny forest antelope. This does not prove that every small animal came from a snare. It does something more interesting. It shows how archaeologists sometimes have to look for the shadow of a trap instead of the trap itself. If you find the rope, the answer is easy. If the rope is gone, you ask what kind of hunting would produce this mixture of animals. You ask whether a person with a spear would choose the same prey again and again. You ask whether passive capture, netting, or snaring could explain what the bones are quietly saying. And suddenly the humble trap becomes a window into a mind that can think about absence. Because when you set a trap, you are imagining a future animal that is not yet there. You imagine its body size. You imagine its habits. You imagine the moment its foot lands, its neck pushes through, its body squeezes into a gap, or its panic carries it forward. A spear is dangerous in the present. A trap is dangerous in the future. That difference changed everything. Now zoom out from a small snare to a landscape-scale trap. Across parts of the Near East and Middle East, archaeologists have documented huge stone structures known as desert kites. From above, many look like long guiding lines that narrow toward an enclosure or pit system. On the ground, some walls may be low, almost unimpressive, but to a moving herd, a low line of stones, a human presence, and the pressure of other animals could be enough to shape direction. The Global Kites Project has cataloged thousands of these structures across a vast region. Researchers have identified more than 6,000 of them, with many forms and sizes. And the hunting function of desert kites is now strongly supported for many examples. Think about what that means. A group of people looked at open land and did not see empty space. They saw a machine. Not a machine made of metal, but a machine made of terrain, herd behavior, fear, memory, and coordination. One person cannot easily build a desert kite. One person cannot easily drive a herd into it. One person cannot easily butcher, carry, share, preserve, and explain the result. So the trap was not only a hunting tool. It was a social tool. It required people to agree on where animals moved, where walls should go, when to drive, where to stand, who would wait, who would signal, and what would happen after success. That may be the most important reversal. The trap that changed everything was not just a hidden loop around an animal's leg. It was the idea that human intelligence could be placed outside the body. A spear puts force in your hand. A trap puts intention into the world. Once intention can sit in the world and wait, humans become dangerous in a new way. Animals evolved to escape teeth, claws, speed, and sudden attack. But a trap asks them to escape a plan. And a plan can be larger than a single body. It can stretch across a valley. It can last through the night. It can be taught to children. It can be repaired next season. It can be remembered after the first maker dies. This is why some of the most striking evidence connected to desert kites is not only the traps themselves, but the way people represented them. A study by Remy Crassert and colleagues reported engraved stones from Jordan and Saudi Arabia that appeared to show realistic plans of desert kites. Among the oldest known plans to scale of human-made megastructures. A plan is not the same as a trap. But it reveals another layer. To draw a trap from above, you must imagine space from a viewpoint your body cannot physically occupy. You must shrink a huge landscape into a small surface. You must turn walking distance into shape. That is not just hunting. That is abstract thinking with consequences. Still, traps did not make humans magically unbeatable. Animals escaped all the time. Weather ruined plans. A herd might turn early. A snare might catch the wrong animal. A trap might be found by scavengers before people returned. A large kill could create a new problem. Meat spoils. Predators smell it, and the group must process more than it can casually carry. Success had costs. If you trap one small animal, you must check the trap before the meat is lost. If you build a fish weir, you must understand tides, channels, current, and seasonal movement. If you build a desert kite, you invest labor into a place. And that place only matters when animals, people, and timing come together. So the trap did not remove uncertainty. It reorganized uncertainty. Instead of asking, "Can I outrun this animal right now?" the question became, "Have I understood this animal's world well enough before it arrives?" That question also appears in ancient fishing. In the Severn estuary in Britain, Archaeologists from the University of Reading recorded Mesolithic fish traps around 7,000 years old. The traps used wooden stakes and woven withes to form V-shaped fences in an old river channel, probably to catch eels or fish. Nearby footprints of adults, children, animals, and birds show a living landscape of movement, work, and repeated paths. A fish trap is not dramatic in the same way as a spear in a charging hunt, but it may be even more revealing. It turns water movement into labor. The fish swims. The current pushes. The structure waits. And humans return at the right time, because the trap has been working while nobody was holding it. This is the deep pattern. A snare works while the hunter is elsewhere. A fish weir works with the tide. A desert kite works with panic and group movement. A pit, a fence, a net, a noose, a basket, a brush wall, or a stone line all share the same hidden logic. They borrow a force that already exists. The animal's path, the river's current, the herd's fear, the slope of the land, the narrowness of a gap, the habit of returning to water. Ancient humans did not need to become faster than gazelles, stronger than aurochs, or better swimmers than fish. They needed to notice what each creature already had to do. That is why the title question has a careful answer. Animals could escape ancient humans often. But they could not always escape the trap because the trap did not fight them like another animal. It met them inside their own behavior. It waited where they were likely to step. It narrowed where they were likely to run. It guided where they were likely to flee. It turned survival instincts into a route. And that changed the human relationship with the natural world. Before a trap is built, the animal is the moving one and the human must react. After a trap is built, the human has already acted. The animal arrives late to a decision that was made earlier. That is a quiet kind of power. It also forces a different picture of ancient intelligence. Not only the heroic hunter raising a spear. Not only the exhausted runner following tracks under the sun. But the patient planner kneeling in dust, tying fiber, placing stones, watching footprints, arguing with another person about where the herd will turn. The person who wins tomorrow's hunt today. Modern life hides this skill from us in strange ways. When you want meat, you open a refrigerator or walk into a store. The animal is already transformed into a product. The tracking, waiting, killing, cutting, transporting, cooling, and risk have been moved so far away that the food feels almost disconnected from any living behavior. Even when you use a modern trap for a mouse or an insect, the object comes from a factory. You do not need to know the animal deeply. You only need to follow instructions. Ancient traps were instructions written by observation. They required attention to the world as it actually moved. And maybe that is the mirror. Modern systems give us safety, abundance, and mercy from endless practical labor. That is worth keeping. Nobody needs to romanticize hunger, cold, or failed hunts. But convenience can also make the world look simpler than it is. A trap reminds us that intelligence is not only speed, force, or reaction. Sometimes intelligence is the ability to slow down long enough to see the pattern before the moment arrives. The animal hears you and runs. The human body is too slow. The open ground is too wide. The night is too dark. So the ancient human does something no wolf, lion, or eagle can do in quite the same way. They place an idea in the path. Then they step back. The trap waits. And for the first time, the hunt continues even when the hunter is gone.